Hey everyone, welcome back to Get Candid Podcast. I'm your host, Raven Joseph. And today I just want to talk to you about ways to overcome disappointment. We know that disappointment is inevitable. It's going to happen. It's part of the human experience. But sometimes we can allow it to hinder our progress. And as a life coach, I think I see that a lot I'm a teacher too, in my students, as well as some of the people I've been working with lately. We don't even realize that things that we haven't overcome are stopping us from moving forward. So I want to talk about dealing with disappointment and finding ways to push past it so that we are successful. So sometimes we are hard on ourselves and to the point, or on others to the point where we become perfectionists. So if someone does something to us, we'll be like, oh, I don't want to rely on anyone or this person. So we try to do things on our own, and then we burn ourselves out because we're trying to do the most, right? No one is perfect all the time. Like, everyone is going to make mistakes. We're not going to meet every expectation, and we can't expect anyone else to meet every expectation, right? Realistically. And also, or we can be on the opposite side of the spectrum, and avoid everything, like, oh, didn't work before, so it's not going to work now. So I just want to talk to you about just having that type of mindset and how it's holding you back from being successful. So I want to share with you 3 things that you should avoid when you're disappointed, and 3 things that you can try to do to move past it in a quicker, healthier, more effective way. So definitely, to start with, don't allow situations to plague your mind. Avoid rumination. So that is you sitting down, dwelling on a situation, like what things you could have done differently, or what someone else could have done differently. This was what I expected. And no, cut all of that stuff out and make sure you put it to the side. Unless you're going to be constructive with you thinking about it, give yourself a certain amount of time to think about it and then move on. Because sometimes you can think about it to the point where you're around other people and you're venting. You don't want it to become drama or gossip. Either you're being constructive about it or just decide to let it go. 2, do not rush to judgment. It is not all people like this do this. I'm guilty of that. I feel like all my co-teachers aren't ish, but that is that mindset. And that's what I attract into my life, because I used to think like that, they suck and that's that. But thinking like that, you ruin your experiences for the future. If you're stepping into a new experience and you're automatically thinking it's going to happen this way, you're attracting that type of energy to the situation, and you don't want to do that. You want to always move forward with a fresh start. It's not an all size fits all type of thing. And definitely avoid, this is the most important, don't give up. Don't allow yourself to sit back and let life happen to you because of your experiences with disappointment, whether it can be from something in your childhood age that stops you from trying something today, or being involved with certain types of people. That you're older and you've learned from this experience. So you should allow that to help you rather than to stop you. And that's what I'm going into. Things that you should be doing when you're disappointed is definitely reflection. So reflecting on the situation and paying attention to what you had the power to control and what was pretty much out of your hands. Thinking about the people involved and what they had the power to do and what you were expecting of them. Was it too much? Was it not? All right. And what lessons did you learn from the situation? So definitely reflecting on the situation, not in an obsessive way where it's not productive, but in a way to take a step back and look at the situation. If this were other people, how would you assess this? What advice would you give that person in this situation? Think constructively. And then that leads into having compassion. The people that are involved in the situation, what were their intentions? What were your intentions when you were doing this? If it's you that disappointed yourself, what things would you have done differently? What can you do the next time? To make things better. Don't say, oh, I could have done this differently. I should have done, don't obsess over it. Just think about the next time I'm in this situation, or the next time I'm dealing with this project or whatever, this is what I'm going to do instead. Okay. Don't be afraid to ask people that are in the experience with you for constructive criticism on, like, if you didn't get the job that you wanted, ask the interviewer, what could I have done differently, rather than beating yourself up or like assuming things that you know nothing of. Like, making assumptions is just making an ASS out of yourself. So no assumptions, just compassion for all those involved. Even if there was somebody else that intentionally did something to you, the quicker that you let it go, the better, and learn from it, the better. Some situations you have to process, and that's okay. So that's what part of the reflection piece is, just thinking about it. But definitely don't take anything personally. Even if someone intentionally does something to you, it's not about you, it's about them. So always remember that. Today, I had an observation, and the old me would have spazzed out after the fact, not during the observation, but at the things that were happening. But at the same time, like, I've learned to just appreciate people for who they are and pay attention to their strengths, and understand that not everybody is like me. And I'm not saying that like to be rude, but realistically, like, you can be one way and you expect people to act that way. Not everybody is like you. So you have to just admire people for who they are and what they can provide, and look at their strengths and what good they bring, or you can just step back and just let it go. But don't ever take anything personally, because it's not all about you, pretty much. And last but not least, make sure you are always doing your best all the time. Like, when I think about the things that didn't go my way or didn't happen how I expected to happen, just knowing that I tried my hardest or I did my best in the situation allows some peace within me. And then I really reflect on, like, okay, so this is what I've learned from this situation. I've been doing that a lot in the last year. So this wasn't the old Ray. The old Ray was totally different, but that's possibly a story time for another day. But yeah, so make sure that you're reflecting, you're doing your best, and you're showing compassion to yourself and others all the time when you're dealing with disappointment.
Please understand that what I'm sharing isn't necessarily for like traumatic experiences of disappointment where you may need like intense healing, but it's things that happen in our day to day lives that we don't even realize are stopping us from moving forward. Like, for instance, when I was speaking about my co teacher, like, that type of mindset, I didn't realize that's how I was dealing with being disappointed, was me shutting down and like trying to do everything on my own, instead of addressing the situation constructively. So that caused burnout. So, like, looking at little situations in your life, within your family, etc., that you can use these tips for. Please know that I understand all disappointment is not the same. I am not telling you to deal with certain things with these tips, but in other ways that you can, like surface level things, because eventually they do go into our subconscious mind and we don't even realize that we're acting out of those disappointments.
Let me know what you think in the comments. What ways do you deal with disappointment? Make sure you subscribe to my channel, and thank you for tuning in. Take care.